quick things today. Obviously, the Epstein stuff, and it's going to take a while. I've always said that, once they got through this portion of the program, if you will, now we'll find out what it looks like going, from the Senate now to Trump and what the DOJ eventually gets us. And, so don't be surprised if, national security, certain things of that nature. And, people keep asking me about we want the list. I said, I think what most people, it's not the list they're looking for. What they're looking for is if there were people that did awful things, and I think we can all agree there were some. I mean, they've talked about up to 1,000 victims. Let's just cut that in half. I mean, it's what do you say? It wasn't just all him. I think there's a little bit more egg on the face for the Cash Patels and the Bondis, and we've talked about that. I think what people want is, okay, is there going to be some accountability now for people that did bad things? It's not so much the list and embarrassment. Is there accountability? I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. And so it'll be interesting to see, how this plays itself out in the coming days and weeks. And, and there's going to be some embarrassment. There is going to be some embarrassment. And everybody's still playing the game of politics, and you got to think about the victims, but there is going to be some embarrassment on probably both sides of the aisle. And how people are going to look at people and how they interacted as these names come out and how they had relationships with Epstein after he had been convicted, I think is going to be, not saying that you did something, but the reality is there are people out there that probably, like Larry Summers, had relationship, friendship with a person who did awful things. And I think there's going to be some serious questions about, what's going on with some of these people. And so that, that's, you got to take it for what it is. It's gone through the big thing now, and it's up to Trump. He signs it, and they'll go from there. People are going to get frustrated because there's not going to be a lot of this or that. And, it's what about investigations? Well, why weren't you investigating before? People are going to ask those questions. Now you just have to let it play itself out. It's the best you can do. Everything else has been done at this point in time. And then the criticism, if there is any, will be warranted when you cross the next bridge. But I want to talk tonight about MAGA. And it's interesting because Ted Cruz announcing, that at least coming out that there is, the exploratory presidential run. Trump, in some ways, is kind of that, already that lame duck as president because you're not running again. I mean, despite what Bannon says, he's not running again. And Trump built something. There's no doubt. He built something. The question, though, is I see a lot of people, kind of jockeying to figure out exactly, okay, I want to be here. And what about this is my brand and stuff. And this is less about the politics of it all because everybody that's going to come after Trump isn't Trump. And that's the issue with MAGA. There's the old saying in sports, you don't want to be the guy after the guy. You want to be the guy after the guy after the guy. So you see that with legendary coaches, right? Or quarterbacks. You don't want to be the guy that comes in directly after Tom Brady. No. But after that guy had come in, well, then maybe, right? You don't want to be the guy that comes in after the legendary coach who built something because it's people are looking around going, well, who's going to be the next guy? The problem is Trump is a force. There is no other person after Trump. There isn't. Trump is a beast. He is something that we have never seen before. He has reshaped our politics. He threw all the rules books out the window. We can go on and on about him. And the thought process of whether or not there's going to be a next, there'll be somebody else. But I think the fear for a lot of people in MAGA that are into politics is a lot of people are into it because of Trump. And while they like a JD or a Marco, they're not, with Trump, so much of what it was the cult of personality. And there is only imitators. And I think the problem is you're going to try to find everybody's going to try to find that person they think is going to emulate Trump or try to do what Trump did. And you can't do that because it comes off poorly. And I think the big issue going forward for MAGA is, first of all, you've got, a lot of people that are MAGA in the political world. When Trump's gone, how MAGA will they be? Because MAGA is more emotional. MAGA is more performative. Old conservatives are policy-based, smaller government, fiscal restraint as much as you can get in politics, and that's not MAGA. MAGA is a lot of performative. They go to areas of 80-20 and they fight a battle, whether it's the culture wars. The problem is you can go back to that well too much, and I think we're seeing that in certain times. And so this is going to be a very interesting time in politics because I look and do I think 100% think that JD Vance is it? No. Do I think Marco Rubio's it? No. Do I think somebody else may emerge? I think it's a possibility. But no matter what happens is you're going to be held to the bar of Trump and Trump's personality. Love him or hate him, you're going to be held to that standard. And that standard is going to be tough for somebody. That's why the fear is you're going to get somebody who's going to try to emulate. And as we all know, that didn't go well. It isn't. And on the left side of the aisle, what do the Democrats do? Because the Democrats have spent the last 10 years fighting against everything that was Donald Trump. Their entire platform was, well, we're not him. He's evil. He's bad, et cetera, et cetera. Now both sides are going to have to come out with something new. So one was anti-MAGA. The other was MAGA. And it's all based on one guy. Again, love him or hate him. He is a force. And he's going to be tough to replace in a lot of different ways on both sides of the aisle. The fight against him and the love for him and the passion for him. And who comes up next? I couldn't tell you. But I do know this. The Republicans better start figuring out what their next move is, as the Democrats do, because America's not thrilled by what's going on. They want to see the fight. Yeah, they enjoy the fight. We've made it reality television. But they also want to see some stuff get done. And I think America's at the point now where they're looking up going, you know what? We'd like us to be first for a change rather than the parties and you. So this will be a very interesting thing moving forward when it comes to who's going to replace Trump, because you're not going to replace him. Somebody else may come and take his spot at the top of the ticket, but it won't be the same. Doesn't mean it's going to be worse. Doesn't mean it's going to be better. It could be better policy-wise, but not as exciting. And unfortunately, we live in a time of sound bites and excitement, as we say, the performative side of things, rather than actual policy. So we shall see. Join me tomorrow. Having fun on the radio, 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon East Coast. Go to ChadBensonShow.com. Check out all the stuff we have. You guys have a great night. And